Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we've got a topic, hypergamy, hypergamy, call it what you want. But we're going to get into that today. I've talked about it before. It came up recently, and so I thought it would be something we'd talk about in the beginning of the show. And then we'll lead into two stories that have been turned in. And if you have a breakup story you want to share, visit writemac.com, WRITEMAC.com. The link is in the description below to go to my page. And if you want to send your breakup story in to me and get it read on a YouTube video like this, it's available for a small fee. If you wanted a private video response, that's available. If you want to do a live coaching session, fully unpack your breakup situation in a Skype call or FaceTime call, that's available too. Derek D, what's up? Living large and in charge. So today, like I said, yeah, well, I'm going to change the setup in the background. I just had Aleph come by a couple of days ago, the old cameraman. He's moved on to bigger and better things. He's working for a company that's up and coming right now. I'm really happy for him. But we're going to be starting to make some more quality videos here. So this was always in the background before, but I put that bookcase back there. We're gonna change some things up. Truth or love, Mr. Clutch. So yeah, hypergamy or hypergamy. Some pronounce it both ways. At this point, I believe that this is, yeah, thanks, Derek D. It's a big deal for him. It's a big deal for him. I'm really proud of him. He's already learned a lot. And it's going to help me out too, because his expertise will help me with this channel with some of the video stuff that I'm obviously not that great at. So today, like I said, I came across a quick video on hypergamy, and I thought I would touch on it today. I'm going to make a video. I'm going to make a 10-minute video about this topic coming up. I'm not sure if I'm going to start a new channel for this, but I'm going to do a lot more 10-minute lessons, and that's going to be a topic. And I thought, why not unpack it in a live stream today and get some feedback from the crew, from the feets on the streets, and maybe look at it again. We've obviously talked about this subject before. I don't know if I've made it a main topic. It's a popular one. But anyhow, let's get into it, because once Rob's here, then we can just get started, right? He's got the gate. Okay, let me pull this up. Women want to know that you're the best option, that you're above their other options, that you are superior or equal. But, and this is my interpretation, so the basic part of hypergamy or hypergamy is women level up or level higher, if you will. They want a superior mate. They want someone that they view as above them. But equal leaves more room for improvement. So there's a lot of people that go, oh, I want someone equal. Well, that's possible. I think when you have something that equals, you should be surpassing equal in the relationship at some point. But I think life's not so simple now. And even if a woman finds you to be someone that's the best she can do, and that's what Rich Roll, if you've gone to Rich Roll's channel, talks about, that she has to feel like every day she wakes up, you're the best she can do. Now, I believe circumstances change where it's almost like an equalizer when you listen to music or something like that, if you look at an equalizer. I believe that there is moments where she's not going to believe that you're above her, because it's not the 1950s anymore, where everyone's dug into their careers, they're dug into who they are, where they're at in life. And let's face it, when marriage first came around, a lot of times, couples would get married due to their wealth. It would be more of a family thing. But let's say for the 1950s, if you ever watched Mad Men, the guys are dug in on their careers of 20, 30, 40 years, right? They're going to know that what they're going to get in pay raises. They're going to know where they're headed and whatnot. I believe now we have such a different culture than 50 years ago. Excuse me. 1950s is 70 years ago now. That's crazy. With social media and the internet just pounding riches and hot bodies. Riches and hot bodies. Right? Whether that's women or men, by the way. And the idea that you can make quick, big money, or you can lose quick, big money if you don't listen to me. One of my buddies that's into finance and stocks, he calls the new YouTube videos out there financial porn. I'll tell you what, I'm no expert on stock market and Bitcoin, but the videos that are coming out right now by the thousands, it's just overwhelming to make sense of it all. So things are changing in that sense, and I think that changes hypergamy or hypergamy. And so going a little deeper in this, and let me know how you pronounce it out there, pronunciate it. Hypergamy or hypergamy? So like I said, the great Rich Roll, which I like his channel, shout out to Rich, is that women need to know you're the best option every day they wake up. That you are superior or equal, but in my book, like I said, equal leaves more room for improvement. Now here's where hypergamy definition changes. What does the woman view as superior to her, or dating up, if you will? So this the basics are education, which that only matters if she values education. So the interesting thing about what one individual would find as above them or equal would be different. But the four main topics I came up with, and please in the live stream add a topic if you think I'm missing one. I'm not talking about subtopics small. I'm talking about umbrella type topics. I put education, social status, physical body, and financial status. Thinking about it now, I would probably say in the 21st century, it would be very wise to also include mental health, right? This is something that no one would have thought of 20, 30 years ago, but now I would say it's a big one. Depends on her values. So for example, there's a lot of stuff out there now where someone's going to go, well, it's all about financials, first and foremost. There are still women out there that aren't all about that. They might not be the woman you're attracted to. Not to get off topic here, but what are her values? But those would be, I would say, how an individual rates if someone's above them. For example, education is one of those things. You can look at it with certifications. So there's a very, very easy way to gauge that. He has a PhD, I have a master's degree. So he's a step up, right? Social status is really interesting, and obviously rock stars, a famous writer, a YouTube star. These people obviously get 10 out of 10s on social status, and it obviously counts in women's eyes if that's the case. I would add prestigious jobs, and one of the prestigious jobs would be a doctor. I think that's always been something that people look up to and that they're going to find to be prestigious and have a social status to it. But I'm going to add one that I think is actually, these individuals don't make a ton of money, but social status in the communities would be firemen. Why do women love firemen, right? I mean, they got a job just like a doctor where they're helping people. They're not the bad guy like cops are now. They're throughout the community. They work out like crazy, right? Social status. Why are women attracted to men in the military? There's a social status to that. Physical body seems obvious, but I would add that some women like guys that aren't with a six-pack and yoked. So that can vary also. Financial status, again, this would have to be one of those things. What does she value? Being comfortable or being rich? There's two different things. Financial and physical usually are the anchors. I would say that this, if you're going to go broad, this is true. How do you keep me safe and not worried about food on the table? And how do you look physically good? Because looking physically good actually ties in with social status, because I'm proud to be with you. Right? A position of prestige or popularity can be compelling, is what I wrote in my notes. The interesting thing about that is if the bubble pops, right? Hypergamy can be overlooked in moments when the woman is vulnerable, such as losing a loved one. Now, this is something that I want you to consider as an exception to the rule. So if you've ever met a woman or a couple and you go, oh my God, how did she end up with that guy? Because the guy's not physically up to par with how she looks. She's a 10, he's a 6, if you want to use numbers. You know, he's 5'5" and she's 6 foot. There's just all kinds of things where people go, what, how did they end up together? So is it possible that a woman can date down? Of course, there's always exception to a rule. But how do these relationships get started in the first place? I would say overall, if a man's not striving to be better throughout the relationship to her equal or to someone that, like I said, the great Rich Cooper says, is the best she believes she can do. She's not looking for someone else. Now, hypergamy can be overlooked in moments when the woman is vulnerable, such as losing a loved one, losing a job, coming out of a breakup, or how about this one? Wait for it, clutch. Being drunk in a club. These are situations where women might be wounded on the savannah. The hyenas will come out and they'll take their pieces. And this is a time when a woman might be vulnerable. A woman that everyone goes, wow, how did she end up with that guy? Right? These are some of the things. Or maybe she has a drug habit. These are all cases where a woman may let her guard down and sleep with a guy or start dating a guy that isn't the best she could do. Eventually, this does lead to a breakup, unless the guy's very manipulative. The problem with society now with social media is that hypergamy is no longer a competition of just people someone may work with, that they go to school with, or that they introduced through social connections such as church or family. So what do I mean by that? If you're going to rate someone equal or above you, you're going to have to do it based on the environment you're in, right? If you are going to Harvard medical school, there's going to be some qualifications on who's going to be equal to higher to you, right? Now, again, going back to maybe the 1950s, 1960s, you had people you work with to measure against. You had people you go to school with to measure against. You had people through social connections like church and family gatherings to interact with. Now, what are you being compared to now? Holy moly. It's a whole nother ball game. I believe now, with everything that's out there, you're getting compared to a whole lot. And it's daily and hourly posts of bigger, better things. And so I think a lot of times this is what contributing to so much depression, and people believing that they could do better or their partner can be better. I wrote on, it's affected by massive amounts of social media, showing far superior men glorified for money and bodies. So it's always in their face, right? And this goes both ways for women and men. Now, I'm not saying I don't love a good shot of a woman in a bikini. I don't have any problem with the fact that women are more attracted to men that are successful with money. It makes sense. No pun intended. But I think a woman could be in a relationship with a guy that she believes is the best she can do, but if she's a social media addict, might be affected. Might be affected. This is where environment changes options. Her status or identity change allows her to move up. She loses 30 pounds, she has new options. She works with more rich and successful men, she has new options. She changes friends at a university, she has new options. And probably a new rating system. How does she judge what's an above option? She would define that by what she lacks in a lot of ways. And this is a different angle to look at this, rather than everyone likes rich guys, or all these women are into the perfect guy. A woman that is financially poor or raised in a poor family would be much more attracted to a rich man because there's been a place of lack there. Whereas financially rich women would be more attracted to a man that fulfills a different area more fully, such as being more adventurous. Circumstances will change the perceived value. A woman's access to favorable environments for vast amounts of men that she values will create a lot more tension in the relationship. She's not going to put up with a lot of stuff as much, and she'll probably be more flighty. If your girlfriend goes to university, which isn't the university you go to, or maybe it could be, lives near a military base, or just lives in a rich city, okay? Just in a city that has a lot of rich guys, or a city that just has more people, more options. There's going to be more options in comparison than a small town. It's going to be more competitive, and there's a higher likelihood that she'll cheat. So what is a man to do to keep his value up? I wrote, take care of himself inside and out, be financially stable, independent socially, or you could say socially independent, up to you. But I think that's a really understated one. Guys get into a phase where they get themselves a nice piece of pie, they get really comfortable, they get locked in the relationship, they stop hanging out with their buddies, the woman gets a new set of friends, and the guy has to break up, and then he not only lost his girlfriend, but it was his only social interaction going. Socially independent is important. You don't need validation from her. You get it with ease elsewhere. And finally, you consider yourself to be physically attractive because you dress well. You keep yourself in good shape. Doesn't mean you're a model, but you keep your body up to par. And be consistent with all three of these, and this will keep your value up for you. Some women obviously appreciate certain categories more than others. I mentioned this already, so this is, like I said, this is kind of notes. All right, I'm going to come back to a really good, well, let me finish this up. Who do we got on deck? Now here's where I took a turn on this topic. What about intangibles? So stay with me on this. Just like if you watch sports, there's a guy out there that's a winner. And he's got intangibles. He's not the star of the team. He's not Michael Jordan. But he comes off the bench. He helps the team win. He's got intangibles. He knows how to play the game. He's got some good qualities, but he's not a superstar. So some intangibles that would maybe make up for the lack of a great body or a rich pocketbook would be you're a good cook. Would be you can fix things around the house. You make her laugh. You're thoughtful. You're good in bed. You're a leader. She seeks your advice. You're a good listener. You get along with her family. Her family and friends like you. You've got a shared interest like riding horses or playing video games. There's a lot of couples I meet that love to play video games together. You're the same religion. You're intelligent or smart or she thinks so. These are intangibles that are outside the social status, the physical good looks, and the riches that can carry the day in the beginning of the relationship and really spark attraction. Now, these intangibles will keep your value up also. They're kind of overlooked in the grand scheme of how, like I said, everyone comes back to money and good looks. But these intangibles, I think, are sometimes now these things can make up for a lack of one of the big three: social status, of physical attraction, and financial status. But just like a good player that has great intangibles to help the team win a championship, that player, are you ready, will get traded in a minute for an MVP type candidate. So even if you have the intangibles, if a woman's exposed to a rock star, she might get swept off her feet. If you have the big three with some intangibles, and then add in this last ingredient, understanding attraction and how to communicate with women, read some books on this, educate yourself on this. So if you have some intangibles, the big three, and an understanding of how attraction and communication with women works, there, my friends, is a deadly weapon. That's a king of the jungle. Intangibles can get girlfriends, but they don't keep them long term if the big three are neglected. And if you don't understand attraction, you can blow up a relationship out of sheer ignorance. So that's my close on that. I'm going to put together a video on that. Let me get your thoughts here. 13 on deck, 8 likes. Donations are welcome. I appreciate it. And God damn, do I feel good today. I went on a 3-week detox, no sugar, no alcohol. I don't really drink a lot of alcohol, so that wasn't a big deal. No coffee, have one of those a day. I did miss that quite a bit. And I'll tell you what, it was life-changing. Now that I've had a couple coffees the last couple days, it just feels like I'm limitless. So, let's go check out. I'm just scrolling back. Asad Juma. Hey, coach, hope you are fine. I'm absolutely splendid, Asad. Yes, I reply with thank you, Rob. Agreed, T-Mac, Nobody look into real estate and just hammered with social media about it. Biologically, we strive for it, but socially it's considered taboo to be superficial. It's a bit of a paradox given we live in a capitalistic society. The counterculture clash is interesting to see. The only happy long-term couples I know have made spiritual component a very important part of their lives. I would say that helps. T-Mac, welcome. Maturity, that's the key factor on stability in a relationship. I would add, what's your definition of maturity? Phlox 94110, I feel they do that for a sense of security, which is actually appealing to their maternal instincts. Security, stability is one of them. I agree. Hypergamy plus social media, death of West. Interesting. Sabina, welcome. Good to have you. Definitely social media, online dating have undermined long-term commitment in families. CD, good evening, Coach Mac and listeners. Good evening to you. MX Shark Gang. Okay, typical trophy wife, says Derek D. I would say it depends on your definition of beauty or the accepted standard of beauty in your region. Agreed? Patricia Early, grew up hella early, as the great Drew Down in the Bay Area used to sing. I hope you're doing well. I believe beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, believe on. I feel beauty is both objective and subjective. You'll always, LenderTube, you'll always accidentally say successful if it's on the subconscious. Freudian slip. Okay. I've been celibate for over a year, so I guess I'm a successful. Good for you, T-Mac. Don't forget smell good as well. I suggest Creed Advantage never fails for me. The paradox, when she asks him to make a sacrifice, but then loses attraction, having not being a self-dedicated, but then loses attraction, having not being self-dedicated. This is especially true for people who choose not to go away for university. If you recommend pheromone soap, okay. Clutch, agree, that goes. I like your new background, Elena P. I hope you're doing well, hon. Miami's finest. Very good, coach. You look healthy. I hope so. I lost weight during and I didn't want to lose weight. And some of my friends are just going, why'd you want to lose weight? I was like, it was a byproduct of the detox. Oh my God, same here. Detox for real. I'll tell you what, I was dreaming about tacos and pancakes and different things that I don't even eat, really, because I eat pretty healthy. I'm not a health nut with food, but I eat pretty good. And man, when I got done, I was like, oh man, you just don't realize how much pleasure you get in food. You feel great because you're back on the coffee with a low tolerance. Oh my goodness. Petty Betty, it's been a while. How have you been? You keep saying you want to have a chat. This month, folks, for this month, I'm doing a 4-hour package for $300. Now, I usually charge $125 an hour for live coaching sessions. If you don't find it useful or helpful, I do refund your money. But this month, I'm specifically doing 3 4-hour sessions for $300. It's under $100 a session. But I'm going to be doing hypnotherapy, 2 hypnotherapy sessions, which is something I've done over the last year that's been very helpful. And I'm also expanding to not having to talk about breakups. So specifically, if we did a 4-hour session, we would want to talk about where are you stuck and where do you want to move forward and what are some disempowering beliefs that are holding you back and how can we discard those? So it's not just going to be about breakups. I've already had 3 people get back to me in an email today that they want to do this. And like I said, I've done it with other clients, and it's been with flying colors. Hypnotherapy, if you don't know much about it, it's where you help reprogram the subconscious mind. And it's very powerful. It's much more powerful than talking about the same stuff over and over again. Talking about your breakup for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours is therapeutic. At some point when you get into hypnotherapy, you're taking a totally different path and you're reframing things in a way that'll serve you moving forward. I've used it in my own life and it's been highly beneficial, and now I'm practicing it. And I learned my techniques from the lady that was actually my hypnotherapist. So same applies to that service. If you don't find it useful or helpful, I'll give you a refund. But I'm really excited about, this has been suggested by my past clients that they don't always need to talk. They want to talk to me or follow up, but they're like, you just do breakups. I'm like, no, we can talk about other things. Let's see here. Good to see you, Coach. Dark Knight. Maturity equals being humble. What's your definition of being humble? Guy with low education level asks high educated women to sacrifice her status for life with him because he can offer anything besides sexuality. Yes, I'm good. Bought a house by a lake here in Victorville, California. Wow, I've never been to Victorville, but I had 2 college roommates that were from a place called Hesperia, which I think is next door to Victorville. What's your usual diet, Coach Mac? I don't really have a usual diet. I do like salad more than I ever did before, but I don't have a new one. And it's interesting you asked that because I'm considering going to a dietitian and planning out something that's more regular, because I followed this detox protocol and I found it really interesting to follow something like that. But the last 3 days I've had pizza. I've even had a dessert at a bakery. I had some croissants. I definitely had some tacos. I had 3 eggs and bacon this morning. I like my eggs, that's for sure. When you start eating healthy, you will feel better. I've been looking into reversing heart plaque. Bought a juicer and going big on that. Sounds good. Detoxing is awesome. I cut for 30 days once. I felt it was freaking awesome. I stuck to it ever since after that. That's great. 4-hour package, $300 this month. Yep. I mean, if someone needed to use the last week on next month, that's fine. But I want to do 4 1-hours a week with 2 hypnotherapies mixed in. Like I said, anyone that wants to do it, we don't need to just talk about breakups. If you got something at work that's disempowering, you've had a belief. Hypnotherapy works quite well. Like if you have a fear of spiders, if you always are bad with money and you want to know why, we can dig deeper on that rather than you just accepting that you have bad luck with money. So I'm pretty excited about it. And I think it's worked, like I said, it's worked for me, and now I've been doing it behind the scenes. It hasn't been advertised on my website, but getting the feedback from my clients, I'm going to start branching off and helping people with other things. I haven't drank coffee for almost 2 years now, and it's life-changing. Wow. Good for you, Elena. Definitely makes you think in a different way, huh? I'm living in a small village close down to ski resort. Very good. Thank you. Glad you're doing well. I don't drink coffee, only black tea for breakfast. Wow. Not related to, but these seats aren't comfortable after hours of driving. Village of 80 people. They are friendly. Good for you. Patricia's same trial. Okay. So I'm caught up on the live stream now. Like I said, we got 16 on deck, 10 likes. Appreciate the donations. If you want to throw some paper out there. If you don't, that's just fine too. I don't really mind. I've got 2 stories to lay out on the deck for you. Get your take on it. In the movie Get Out, one of the characters hypnotizes people against the will by asking them questions while stirring her tea. Ooh. It's actually a really good thing to learn. Now you can go on YouTube and basically find out more about that. I don't think I've experienced hypergamy, so no comment. I will say it's not common, though. Okay, so let's get into the stories, if that's okay with you folks, with 15 on deck. Hey, Coach Mac, I'm writing my story because I like your style of unpacking them. I broke up with my ex over a year ago, and now she just called me out of nowhere and asked me to dinner. I've been dating 2 women online that I really like. When I say online, I mean we have done online dates because it's long distance. Okay, so it's one of those situations you consider yourself dating, but you haven't met in person yet, so that's a big hole to fill. But my ex actually lives an hour away, and she said she just wants to catch up. What does that mean? It literally could mean that she just wants to catch up. Most likely, she's just had a breakup, or she's ran into someone that reminds you of her. She's ready to revisit things. There's probably a little bit more to just the catch up. She's interested to see where you're at, but it's not necessarily meaning that she wants to get right back with you. She's curious. She basically broke up with me because I didn't make enough money, but she used the words lack of ambition. Ambition and making more money don't always line up. So you know her better than I do. If that's the case, are you making more money now? Do you feel like it was a kick in the ass to have more ambition? Or did you just totally disagree with what she said and still have a problem with it? Because if that's the case, it probably won't work to revisit things. You know, a woman that puts you down for not having enough ambition and breaks up with you, the minute that you show something like that again, she'll probably accuse you of it again, and that's not helpful. Now, she lost her job, and she's fishing, I think, to stay with me, as I know she's pretty desperate with the job scene. Okay, well, that's a totally different... I mean, the fact that you would think that that's why she called you up is a negative to start the game out with before you even meet up, which says that you still have a little contempt for her. But on the flip side, you're entertaining it, right? I also know that she was seeing an ex-convict for a while, a guy she actually introduced to me. We ran into him at the mall, and she told me he was a distant cousin. Later, I found out was all bullshit. They had a good thing going on. They had a thing going on, but I couldn't prove it. So you got these variables where you believe she left you because you didn't make enough money, but she said ambition. You believe she's pretty desperate. That's why she's calling you up. And then you got this last one, the cherry on top of the shit sundae, where she bold-faced lied to you about a public encounter with a man that you thought was her cousin that turned out to be her secret lover. Why would you want to meet up with her? Now, a year later, I'm pondering, do I even go out with this woman? It's up to you. If you could treat the situation like friends with benefits at best, then go for it. But I don't think you want to get entangled with it. Someone that bold-faced lies to you about a situation, that saying someone's a distant cousin and there's someone that they were most likely seeing, that's no bueno. That's dust. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. See you later, alligator. I like the attention, but I'm also not wanting to get manipulated into a situation where I'm not happy again. It's negative, 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 negative. Everywhere you turn, and what you wrote here is a negativity wall. Well, it's probably this. Well, it's probably that. So why would you want to see her again? The only reason is if you're desperate. Keep dating the women you're seeing online. Find a way to meet up with them in person. If you do meet up with this woman, I would go in with a neutral stance, but it doesn't sound like you can do that because, like I said, you've been negative about 4 or 5 different ways here, which is just fine. You have grounds to be negative, I suppose, like I said. But why would you want to meet up with her? If you do meet up with her, gauge immediately how you feel during the encounter, right? But I would say I would do a strong pass on meeting up with this individual. All right, let me take a look at the live stream here. My buddy suggested I move in with his financially desperate mom for 2 months because she's getting evicted. That was like held to the no. In Canada, you may as well sign up for slavery in that. That's a pretty big ask, yeah, for a grown man to do that. Why doesn't he help his own mom out? All red flags. I saw this happen before. I was in the middle person watching it all go down. LOL, people really say this is my cousin? Like R. Kelly? I guess so. His desperate desire was greater than the ability to say no to the obvious red flags. People ask me sometimes, they go, why am I still hung up on her? Why can I not let her go? Because you're lonely and you don't have other options. And then they go, yeah, that's true. Now, here's the thing. You're allowed to be lonely. You're allowed to be lonely. And actually, during those lonely moments, what's really constructive rather than destructive is to do some journaling, talk to a coach, go to a therapist, read some good books on some self-improvement, and you think to yourself, I'm at ground zero here. What do I really want? Do I want a family? Do I want a wife that's a professional? What do I really want? A lot of people don't spend time thinking about what they want. They're opportunists rather than specialists. What do I mean by that? Whatever opportunities come their way, women-wise, they'll take a stab at it. But a specialist knows exactly what they're looking for, what they need to be or specialize in to get that individual, and they can start filtering better so that when they get a partner, they will be with someone that didn't just fill a lonely hole, because it's one thing to be lonely. It's another thing to be in a miserable relationship. I'll take loneliness. Absolutely, guys. Right now, the only thing that matters to me is my happiness. If someone is meant to be in my life, they will go out their way to prove it. Otherwise, I couldn't care less. Hopefully, things will improve when most people get vaccinated. Sure. Been a while since I was in Italy. 2 years ago, I was in my homeland, Germany. Jesus, deliberately withdrew to lonely places. It can be good. The moments of so-called loneliness is when you can rebuild. That's the gospel right there. Yes, you can visit Europe again. Your happiness must always come first. Non-negotiable. No more compromising for others. Got burned once, never again. I learned that my depression for female validation was generating 90% of my feelings of loneliness. When I lost my need for a woman, most of the loneliness went away. Interesting. I'd rather be lonely for sure. A lot of times, like, I've had clients and I'm like, I know you really want to be in this relationship, but careful what you wish for. Because what you're dealing with now, where you don't live together and you don't depend on each other, and you want to get married to this individual, and there's road flags up, not red flags, there's caution orange flags up. If she lied about something like that, it ain't going to be the last time she lies about something. I wouldn't revisit it. In theory, alone moments do not have to be classified as lonely. They can be reframed. I agree. Maybe a coach can help you with that, or the great Rob I.S. also. All right, folks, I got one more story to unpack here. Coach Mac, I got the craziest breakup in history. I've heard that line before, actually. I was a devoted husband and a father for the last 4 years. We have 2 kids and 1 family dog. We've got a house and 2 cars. We've got good relationships with our parents. We've got good jobs through COVID, but we don't got love. Who says you can have it all, my friend? She says she just fell out of love with me. God, those are tough words. I've never heard that from a woman before, but it seems like it's used a lot. I don't understand. We have sex and it's good. We kiss each other at night to sleep. The only thing that's changed is that she recently started hanging out with a neighbor friend. He got divorced last week and seems to be a loose. He got divorced. I'm thinking she got divorced last week and seems to be a loose goose. I can guess what that means. She's had quite a few guys coming and going. We live in a court, and I face her house so I can actually see them coming and going. I actually thought at one point she was providing a massage service. Now thought one point she was providing a massage service, but now my wife and her are selling some kind of essential oils, and now my wife goes over there and has wine with her 5 nights a week. She's turning into a wino. I've looked to the other way, but now I'm seeing it changed her too much. Well, there's a lot of things you don't like here, but she's actually fell out of love with you. That's the elephant in the room. I confronted her, and she threw back at me that she fell out of love with me and wants to maybe move across the street and split up. I told her, okay. Well, I mean, what are you going to say? The fact that you got 2 kids together, a family dog, it's pretty awkward for her to move across the street this urgently and not try to work it out. You saying okay to this until a cooler head prevails. I think what else is lost here, if she's drinking 5 nights a week, she's going to be much more impulsive in her decision making. And if this just is the start of her 5 nights a week of drinking and she likes it, it probably won't end anytime soon. I guess the silver lining in this is the fact that being across the street, she can help out with the kids at all times. I know that sounds like that's not a silver lining, but I think it is. I thought, you know what? Go for it. Now, 2 weeks later, I find myself watching the door of that house, and I could see they're having guys come over. I can't stand this situation. What's your take? What do I do? This is a tough situation. This is a tough situation. First of all, I'd go meet 3 divorce lawyers. And depending on where you live or what state, if you go see a divorce lawyer, she can't go see the same one. So go see the best ones in your town or city. Now you're saying like, oh, I still want to work it out. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not saying you can't work it out. But you need to get educated on where you stand. So I would go see 3 divorce lawyers just to get educated on where you stand. I would also get strategic. What does that mean? Get strategic rather than just be emotional here. You got assets in having a house, you got 2 kids involved, and she's become highly irrational very quickly. So you're the adult here. Put your kids first and foremost, and you won't have any regrets in that situation. Tell her you need to have a sit-down talk about where she stands right now across the street. This can't just be a split or a break when there's men coming in and out of the house and they're drinking wine every night. You got to get definitive on where you guys stand. But the divorce lawyer thing is you don't need to tell her you're doing that. That's for you to see 2 steps ahead of the situation. Because if she just started this set of ill behaviors, I don't think she's going to change anytime soon. Not unless she got a DUI or the lady did something wrong to her. Sounds like she's enjoying herself. She's decided that she fell out of love with you. And there's usually not a way where you can just talk someone out of that stuff. So having to deal with watching the house across the street, I don't have a sure answer for that. I would say that it's not easy just to move away from a house, though. That's something you're going to have to deal with, and you're going to have to be strict with yourself because it doesn't serve you. Okay, accept that Rob's so true. Okay. But see a few lawyers to see where you stand. Put the kids first in all your decisions. Have a sit down on where you stand right now. But the 5 nights a week of wine, the hanging out with a loose goose friend across the street, I don't see it ending anytime soon. Get strategic. Do you know what I mean by being strategic rather than emotional? So like I said, strategic would be like, I need to know my rights before we think about divorce. Like there's certain things, certain states, if someone moves out of the home, or there's certain things you need to know. You got to get prepared for this. Make sure your finances will not be stolen. Throw money into crypto or buy gold bars. Make sure you are not financially ruined if a divorce is about to happen. I'm stressed for him. That's a lot. Some men make the mistake of thinking they can change a promiscuous woman. My life is simply drama-free. Well, good for you, Patricia Early. She's having a ball with Kramer from Seinfeld across the street. Okay. All right, folks. I'm actually going to call that a show today. If you guys have, really quick, if you have any closing questions, I always ask. Or if you have a topic that you want me to talk about in the future, go ahead and put it in. Drama-free zone equals freedom. I always liked Rollo Tomasi's statement that a man's always in his best place when he has the ability to maneuver. That last story that's a tough one. And that's one of those ones I definitely recommend doing a live coaching session. Definitely. Because you need to unpack a marriage of 4 years. Have a good day, too. Yes, and keeping it that way, coach. All right, folks, it's curtains.